what can go wrong will go wrong. Ever hear that phrase? I swear the WNBA not only seems to live by it, they seem to have modified it a little bit to where if we can do it wrong, we will absolutely do it wrong. And we are continuing to see that with massive fallout from the reaction to the Sophie Cunningham comments to the point where the WNBA has a serious, serious problem on its hands. Now, you may have already heard Enes Kantor, former NBA player, number 3 overall pick in the NBA, had a very solid career. Of course, a lot of people, are trying to downplay that now, and he's so terrible because they want to go after his character because of he's exposing the hypocrisy of the WNBA right now. So a lot of people who, of course, have very vociferously supported trans women are women. All of a sudden, don't believe Enos. Don't think Enos. He's an exception to that rule. Apparently, you can actually disagree with that position now. But for those of you that don't know, and I'll play the short clip, he has announced for the 2027 WNBA draft. After we got, of course, the fallout, the reaction to Sophie Cunningham, we had Cheryl Reeve with her word salad of, we don't want to be exclusive, right? Of course, professional sports leagues are the epitome of exclusive. The number of teams, the number of players on a roster. I mean, you can't have a pro sports league without exclusivity. And then you have Golden State Valkyries coach coming out with she even topped Cheryl Reeves' word salad, if that's possible. Also talking about, not wanting to be exclusive. The WNBA coming out with a statement. Well, let's not even get to the statement yet. If you look in the CBA, you have to be a woman to play in the WNBA. Okay. And that's it, folks. There is no definition of woman anywhere to be found. And so Enes Kanter is now declared for the WNBA draft, and he's not the only one. Is it Royce Wright has followed suit, another former NBA player, also declaring for the draft. Now, I know a lot of people and this is the distraction. And this is why I wanted to talk about it. And maybe this is a slightly different angle because, of course, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Enos just wants the publicity. He's grifting. He's mocking the trans community and on and on." But let me tell you a little something about Enes Kanter. The man lost out on the last part of his NBA career. Some would say, even I think his agent told him maybe 40 to 60 million dollars because he was forced out of the league quietly, but forced out of the league because he had such a hardcore stance and would not stop speaking out about the NBA's connection to China and slave labor. In fact, there's a story. He played a game in Charlotte. I forget what year, but Michael Jordan, an owner of Charlotte, he bought Jordan shoes specifically, and then and made sure Jordan wrote "made with slave labor" on his shoes. I mean, this is a guy who has, unlike your Cheryl Reeves, right, who's always who is okay, according to her, with men playing in the WNBA because, she doesn't play, she coaches, but she's not okay with men coaching in the WNBA. She does want more black women coaching in the WNBA, but she won't give up her spot for a black woman to coach in the WNBA. And this is one of the things that Enos is exposing is the absolute hypocrisy of the virtue signaling. All of these people in the WNBA make these ridiculous statements and declarations and are perfectly fine with things that are not going to affect them personally. Well, this very well might affect a lot of players personally. But I promise you, the man is not doing this for publicity, which we'll get into a minute. But speaking of a minute, this is about a minute long. I want to play the clip of him first, so you can you can listen to this.
After careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. My team and I have carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion. Based on the current guidelines, I can and am officially declaring my eligibility for the upcoming WNBA draft in May 2027. I am definitely not here to mock, make fun of, or disrespect any community or personal choices. I am simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone. The rules that represent the very values many WNBA players and coaches have publicly advocated for. My team and I are prepared to ensure these guidelines are applied equally, consistently, and without exception. And I look forward to the WNBA honoring its stated principles. See you at training camp.
There you have it. My man is ready and declaring for the WNBA draft. And I promise you, again, based on this guy making serious sacrifices for what he believes in when it comes to the connection between China and the NBA, this is not a publicity stunt. He will take this all the way to where there will be a lawsuit filed against the WNBA, and the WNBA is going to be forced to make it very clear what a woman is and who is actually eligible to play in the WNBA, which of course can have a huge, profound impact on women's sports, period, all across the board. So this is actually sort of a watershed moment in all of this. Again, stemming from Sophie Cunningham's interview, answering a question back in February, and this is where we've gotten to. We had Gabby Williams recently. I'm gonna play that here in a second. You know, who's already said she would welcome a male in the WNBA, either as a teammate or as an opponent as well. So she may very well get her wish. So let's take a quick listen to that as well.
I think it's trans rights right now is our new battle. That's what I think I was saying, that like the battles have changed. Oh yes. You know, like our intentions been the same, but now the environment has changed. We see trans people's rights being, you know, stripped away from them. There's a lot of discourse around trans athletes and what they can compete in. I would welcome a trans athlete on my team or against my team anytime. I don't think it's a problem in the world. It's just another way to kind of attack trans people. You know, we've seen players like Lasia Clarendon who stepped into that forefront and have been brave enough and courageous enough to kind of step up. So I guess that's the next battle that we have to fight as athletes.
Wow. Yeah, man, they're like crazy. All I can tell you is Gabby's so delusional that she doesn't think it will happen, and for some reason she thinks this makes her look like a good person. It is a clear virtue signal. She might have some regrets if this doesn't go her way and you actually get men like Enes Kantor playing in the WNBA, taking away Gabby Williams' spot. Enes Kantor, freedom. That's it. I think I said Freeman, right? Freedom is what he changed his last two. I mean, he would absolutely dominate the WNBA right now in every aspect of the game. All right, absolutely dominate. So now the WNBA has to say, okay, well, the league is going to have to explain why every single statement that it's made, all the stuff that it's talked about with inclusion and, you know, and the trans community and all of that, were they being serious or is it conditional? Because there is no other option when it comes to these things. They're going to have to make a very clear decision as to who can play in the WNBA. This could very much completely change everything about women's professional sports going forward. Because I promise you, if it gets to that, Enes Kantor will go to court with this. Okay. This is not just someone getting on a soapbox for the moment, trying to get a little publicity or a little money. He will go through with this. I promise you, based on his actions in the NBA, he is willing to make that type of sacrifice and that type of effort. So, hey, WNBA, we all know they've spent 3 decades saying all the buzzwords, right? Being praised for all the right words that they use and inclusion and everything else. And now Enes is putting the onus on them, so to speak, to prove it with a signature, prove it with a filing date. It is not a stunt. This is potentially for the WNBA a legal reckoning for the league going forward. What is a woman who is eligible to play in the WNBA? They have never answered that question. They're going to be forced to now. And a lot of these coaches, a lot of these players now are going to have to stand on what they've said in the past. We'll see how that goes. But of course, you've got all of these people who have been 100% supportive, or let me put it other way. I've been anti what Sophie Cunningham has said. That is probably the shortest and easiest way to say it. all of a sudden they've completely flipped. They've done a 180, they've completely flipped sides, and they're all out there bashing Enes Kantor, and which exposes the hypocrisy in general. It's like, well, which is it? Because you've all this time you've stood on, if a man says he's a woman, that is enough. But now you're saying, oh well, Enos is an exception. Why? Because you don't like him? Because he's in your word, in your viewpoint, mocking the WNBA? Why is it all of a sudden Enos, this is false for him, but for everyone else, it's 100% true, and it's their true self, and you have to support it without any questions. And who gets to decide who you get to say doesn't count and who does count? You see how messy that starts to get? So, yeah, it's been kind of wild watching the anti Enos Cantor uh, social media meltdown that we've seen lately, but this is not going away anytime soon. This is actually going to have a big impact, which is why I'm not making this a funny video and doing a lot of mocking, although that could be done as well, because this is going to have really serious repercussions for women's professional sports going forward. So we'll see what happens next. Do me a quick favor, like, comment, subscribe. Truly do appreciate it. I will talk to you later.